I don't like over-editing. That kind of screams insecurity that your video is not good enough. The most important thing in any edit is you have to be confident in the video that you're making and that people will enjoy it.
You edited for these big YouTubers. What would you say makes a simple edit powerful?
Change. You click on this video with this piece of information, and at the end of it, you understand something new. Every cut that I make has to be heading towards that change.
Editing can't be avoided, and there are a lot of people that despise it. What are like the top things you would tell them to learn?
That's a great question. I think
you gotta just press record.
Hey, what's up, Think Media? Omar here, and I'm so excited to be interviewing, I would say, YouTube's #1 editor. This is Hayden hillier-smith. How many videos have you edited over across?
I think definitely at least 600 or 700 at this point.
And we're talking YouTube edits. Many of them are YouTube edits. Understanding the psychology, the principles around videos that get edited for these big YouTubers, to name some, Logan Paul.
Yeah, Logan Paul, I think it's like Mr. Beast as well. I think those are like the two most popular ones.
There is only a very few instances that you don't have to edit videos on YouTube, i.e. live streams.
Yeah.
But for the most part, editing can't be avoided.
No, it's part of the process.
It's part of the process, and there are a lot of people that despise it, or it takes them so long.
I seem to be the one exception in all of this where it's like, I hate the pre-production part. I hate the production part. All I want is give me the footage and leave me alone, and I'll give you something great.
I love that.
I seem to be the exception to the rule, where most people seem to love those parts, and oh God, I have to edit it. But I think what it is for me is that I think I was doing the pre-production and production part, but I ended up having the most fun in making it all work in the post-production, in the editing. And so that's why I've always found it surprising of like why people struggle to find the fun part of it. But I think it's because there's just a lot of brute force stuff that we have to get through, the boring stuff. Like, let's just say, like you filmed your A-roll and it's like, hey guys, I'm doing it. Hey guys, hey guys, and then you have to get through that stuff, and and like already you're starting off on a bad foot, and it's like, okay, I'm already hating this process. Whereas for me, it's like, yeah, I hate that process as well, but then what it means, I get excited about the part where it's like, I've got everything I need, and I'm just like, okay, everything I got now is really awkward. How can I then make this work and feel great? And just solving those problems, starting from essentially nothing and trying to make something out of it, is the process that I have the most fun in figuring out. It's like not having no idea what to do, and in that moment you go, oh, this works.
That's awesome. You just said, just give me the video, give me the footage, and I'll make a great video. What would you say on a basic level makes a great video?
I would say, I think the big thing I talk about the most is I think I'm very hyper-focused on the storytelling aspect towards it.
When you say storytelling, because I just like, what do you mean by storytelling?
Change. It is, you click on this video with this piece of information, and at the end of it, you understand something new.
That's good.
Every cut that I make has to be heading towards that change. And I think, and then when I'm trying to inform that story, and it can just be in edits like this, of like, of this, where us just having a chat like this. Okay, so they start with this understanding, and then want them to come out with this. What does this mean? Do we have to do potentially fast cuts to talk about the excitement of my energy? Do we hold on to me, and so we could then actually enjoy the passion that he has as he's trying to find the words to describe it? Those are the things I like to talk about. I've just seen you've nodded head multiple times, and so it will be, okay, that's great. Let's get the moments where I say something interesting, and you nod. You're really conscious about it now. It's really funny. You nod, great. I'm going to get those nods in to help signify the audiences.
I love it.
This is something you need to take a note of. And so that's the sort of things that I think about, and it's all heading towards that moment of change.
Good.
Like, what happens? Okay, so if he's building up to a really great moment, should we have some music that kind of maybe swells up a little bit? Does he say something great that then drops a beat of a new song? Those are the things, and then those signals tell you that was important information for you to retain. And like that's the fun part of it, of like, how can I communicate the clearest message of change for the audience, and that can be figured out in editing.
You're speaking so much of like feel, like I don't know, somebody who's getting an editing and like feel. What do you mean feel? I just need to edit out my mistakes.
It's tone, emotions, feeling. It's a cliche in the film industry, but a lot of people's inspiration is Walter Murch. and he is like one of like the veteran classic editors in Hollywood, and everything he talks about is emotion. How does this feel? How is this meant to feel? And what do I do so to really ensure that that is what you do feel? And that is done in tone, that is done in the feeling, that is done with just the emotion. And I think that's the thing that's why I enjoy it, is because my priority is emotion. Whereas I think a lot of people just struggle or don't invest time into that part of it. And everything outside of that part is very boring and tedious and like frustrating to do.
Yeah. I mean, but like, I feel like it takes a little bit of self-awareness.
Absolutely.
What would you say makes a simple edit powerful?
I think just intention. I think for me, my sort of like personal agenda is don't like over editing. If you're throwing really aggressive, colorful subtitles that come in with a motion blur, you're cutting fast, you're cutting to like 20 different motion graphics, you're cutting to this, and it just seems a bit chaotic. And I think what that does is that kind of screams insecurity that your video is not good enough. Whereas I think intention of like, I can trust my audiences that they can ingest this video and they will enjoy it and they will retain the information I want them to have. That intention is, you will feel that confidence. But then with the over editing, you feel the insecurity. And so I think the most important thing in any edit is you have to be confident in the video that you're making and that people will enjoy it.
That's really good. That's stuff that's kind of beyond the edit, you know, being confident in the edit.
If you want to level up your content with the use of royalty-free music, then look no further than Epidemic Sound. They're one of our favorite resources when it comes to finding dope music and dope sound effects for our video. Their database is so easy to search for like songs and like sounds, and really music creates the vibe in which you want your viewer or listener to feel. And maybe you're doing a sponsored ad read or something, being able to use tracks right off Epidemic Sound, and that won't get you demonetized on YouTube or anywhere else. But the creativity becomes unlimited when you have a resource like Epidemic Sound. If you want to check them out, we have a special deal going on. Just check out the link down in the description below. Thank you, Epidemic Sound, for sponsoring this video.
If you were giving advice for somebody who is new to editing, what are like the top things you would tell them to learn so that they can be more proficient and maybe enjoy it more?
That's a great question. I think if I was to start editing today knowing absolutely nothing, what would be the best thing for me to learn? I would say, honestly, making sure the cuts are clean. I think we often attribute of like, let me get this clip, cuts, and then have this clip, cuts, and this clip, and then we just kind of put them together kind of like Tetris pieces.
Yeah.
But Tetris has all these different shapes. And so you've got to be able to start bending these pieces of footage around so they kind of like work with each other a little bit more. And kind of what I'm talking about really is kind of like the J-cut in terms of, let's just say I finished this sentence, and I would say in terms of the audio underneath should start just a few more frames before the video part comes back in. And having those fade in and out on either of those ends. And what that then means is that just the cuts are able to feel a lot more smoother. Like I would say everyone who's watching this, try it now where get 2 bits of your clips of just talking, put them right next to each other, and then like just test how that feels. And now try this J-cut thing, having the audio start just a little bit, and then the video just a little bit after that audio, and then add in those little fades, and it just feels smoother. Arrogantly, of course, that's one of the most basic concepts, but I think that's the mistake that I do see a lot with a lot of editors. I do see that clipping, I would say.
Yeah.
And so I think that's actually one of the first important things to learn.
Objectively, what is the best editing software for beginners?
I would actually say Final Cut Pro, but that's a little outdated. I think the best editing software for beginners right now is CapCut. I think a lot of new editors are coming from TikTok and discovering CapCut on their phone. And now they're moving on to desktop. And of course, if you've already got familiar with learning filmmaking from there, that's a much more easier translation. If I was starting editing, I'd say CapCut would be the thing I'd first adopt. But then the suggestion is do everything you can to reach its limits on that and then graduate to either Adobe Premiere Pro, DaVinci, or even Final Cut.
What are you using?
Personally, I use Final Cut, but with clients, I use Premiere Pro.
What would be the reason for that?
I think Final Cut's really bad with collaboration.
Okay.
It's not built for that. It's built for you, the creator, to do all of it yourself, whereas Premiere Pro is built for sharing your project. You can really get into the details, whereas you're relatively limited on Final Cut. But in terms of efficiency, for me, Final Cut's like efficient for me because I've learned that that's the one I've spent the most of my time in. But for working with people, Premiere Pro is far superior.
If somebody was like, okay, I'm kind of ready to find an editor, how would you advise somebody to find an editor?
I often say it's great that right now everyone can be an editor, but right now the worst thing is that everyone can say they're an editor.
Yeah.
And so actual good talent is incredibly hard to find amongst the huge ocean of people saying that they are an editor when they might not know as much as they claim they do.
Right.
I find editors through social media. So I've trained my algorithms to find editors.
Wow.
And I think the smart editors know how to market themselves. And so they talk about, hey, check out this edit I did with X creator. They then do videos like you should know this editing trick to do this, and then those are really well made. And I reach out to them personally and say, hey, do you want a job?
Yeah.
And so I think the best way to find editors right now is through social media. There are, of course, job websites, but they're still developing.
Yeah.
And so right now, the best way to find an editor is to train your algorithm for that to find them for you.
Dude, that's really good. Plug in your podcast and all the things you got going on.
My main channel is hillier-smith, but my current passion project is the editing podcast. Yeah. And we do weekly shows, bringing in all of the best editors from film, TV, YouTube, and even TikTok. And I love the fact that we can all just nerd out about editing on that platform. And so, the editing podcast is the best place to learn about editing right now.
Dude, I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.